Cradles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This, as you may recall, is a 1/350th scale Supermarine Walrus that I made a while ago. I bought a set of them to use as gaming pieces for a board game, and this one I painted up a bit more kind of realistically, added some rigging and so on and so forth. The missus was quite taken with this, and she likes it, and she has instructed me to put it on a diorama. So she wants it in the water. I did mention that it does have the wheels, the undercarriage down, and she doesn't care, she wants it in the water. So, you know, her wish is my command, so that's what we're going to do. So I was having to think about a way of protecting it, and I found these the other day. I bought them just after Christmas in one of the inevitable post-Christmas sales. They're just a little bit of Christmas tat that you put in your house. It's, I think, probably about 2mm plywood, laser cut, and then stuck together and then stuck under this dome. The interesting thing is it does actually have a light inside it, and the idea is that you know, when it's dark in your house, these things light up and they look pretty. I bought a load of these. They were ridiculously reduced. I think to start with they were about £6 or £7 each, and I think I paid about 50p each for them. So what I'm hoping, I don't know if it's going to work, I'm hoping that the plane will actually fit inside there. I think it will just about fit. So what I'm going to try and do is get this dome off, and I think it's held on with PVA. I'm not sure, but I'll try and get this off without breaking it. And if I can, then we'll actually make a little diorama inside this, kind of a ship in a bottle thing. And hopefully that will protect it, keep the dust off it and everything else, and it will just be an interesting little thing to go on the mantelpiece. So let's try and get this cover off. So what I've got here, this is the hot air gun from my soldering station. It basically has a little squirrel cage in there, a heating element, and it blows hot air out the end. You can adjust the temperature on it. I think at the moment I've got it set to about 200 degrees. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use it to try and warm around the base of this and see if I can get the glue to part. Either that, or this is going to shatter, or it's going to burn, or... but we'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. There it goes. There we go. Well, that was fun. So what I got here is a bit of plywood, just a scrap bit that I've just drilled a 40mm hole, or 40mm disc, using a hole saw, which has also conveniently placed a hole in the middle for the LED to go through, which is pretty much exactly the right size to go over that. And then the bell jar goes over the top of the whole thing. So what this gives me now is something I can actually build the diorama on, and then we can just put it all together at the end. So what I need to do next is paint this up to look a bit more kind of watery, and then we can start thinking about putting some water effects on it. So what I've got here are a couple of cheap acrylics I got from Hobbycraft, I think. They had them on sale. I think they were about £1 each or £2 each. And I'm going to use these to paint the base. This one is Payne's Grey apparently, but it looks quite a nice sort of ocean colour to me. And this one is a nice transparent emerald green. So I'm going to use a combination of these two to paint the base. So here's our base, just mounted on a little stick. Right, so that's the blue one. Let's try a bit of this green. And I'm kind of putting it on, if you can see that, I'm putting it on kind of in lines, and then I'll blend it up afterwards. Now we can leave this to dry and then start thinking about putting the resin on it. Right, so now this is dry, we need to mask it up. So what I'm going to do is just use some normal decorator's masking tape and just go round the outside. But one thing I need to do before that is block this hole in the middle, because obviously if we pour it like that, the resin will just go straight out. So for that, bit of white tack, just some cheap stuff from the pound shop, because the resin won't stick to this. So basically what we do is stick it in the hole, stop laughing at the back, and push it like that, you see. And I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, but it's kind of bulged through, and that will provide a void for the LED to go into once it's all done. And then just push it down on the back, make sure it's nice and secure, and then we can put the masking tape on. Now when we put the tape on, what we want to try and do is get it as vertical as possible. Because obviously if the sides lean in or anything like that, then it will affect the shape of the resin, because this is effectively our mould. But don't worry about it too much, because you know it's resin, it's going to be water, it's meant to be moving. Then just go around the sides, make sure you push it against the sides so that it makes a nice tight seal, because obviously we don't want the resin to come leaking out everywhere. There we go. Now we can mix up our resin and pour it in. Here's our resin. It's a water clear casting resin, and before I put the catalyst in it and start mixing it, I want to put a bit of colour in it. Now you can, if you're careful, tint this with acrylic paints and acrylic inks and whatnot. So what I've got here is some Prussian Blue, and I'm going to put a drop of this in, literally a drop. And then stir it in. When you're stirring, even though there's no hardener in it at this point, stir it slowly and carefully, because you want to try and avoid getting air bubbles in it if you can. And you see that's given it a nice kind of bluey grey tint. I'll put a little bit more in. The trick is when you're tinting resin, is put it in really slowly, because you can put more in but you can't take it back out. So just put it in a little bit at a time. We don't want to put too much in, because we don't really want it to go opaque. We want it to stay clear, or at least translucent. And I've got a couple of greens here as well. I'll put a drop each of these in. So this is US dark green. And this is pale green. This pale green is really good for cockpits, by the way. It's quite difficult to mix this acrylic into the resin. You shouldn't really put it in, but just keep working at it and eventually it will go in. This is why we do this before we put the catalyst in, because if you put the catalyst in first, by the time you've got it mixed in, it will probably have cured. But there, that's quite a nice greeny grey colour. So now we can put the catalyst in. For this particular type of resin, it's I think it's 3% by volume. When you're mixing it, you'll know, well, you probably won't be able to see it very well now because it's got the colour in it. But if you leave it clear, when you put the catalyst in, it will go cloudy, and basically you just mix it until it goes clear again, and then mix it some more. But for this, I'll just mix it for a few minutes and that'll do. When you're mixing, make sure you scrape around the sides, scrape the bottom, make sure the resin is thoroughly mixed, because if you have any bits that don't have catalyst in them, they'll basically never ever cure. Right, I think that'll do us. Now we can pour it. Now, to pour the resin, I'm actually going to sit the mould on top of another mould. And the reason I'm doing that is for two reasons. One, that if this leaks while it's curing, then the resin will leak into a mould and not go all over the place and make a horrible mess. And also, if you have any resin left over at the end, it's useful to have a little mould or something that you can pour it in, just so you don't waste it. So let's pour this in here. I think, to be honest, we'll put all of this in. And now all we've got to do is leave it to cure. Right, this should have had plenty of time to dry. So let's see if we can get the masking tape off. Ugh. Right, that doesn't look too bad. It's very cold here in the workshop at the moment, and the resin is still slightly tacky, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that. I've just left a fingerprint in the top of it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the oven for a few minutes and warm it up just to cure it completely. Right, so that's been in the oven now. It's nicely firmed up. I've cleaned out the white tack from the bottom, and what we need to do now is make this a bit more watery. I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So what I've got here is Mod Podge. This is the gloss version. This can be quite difficult to get hold of in the UK, but I found Hobbycraft sell it, so if you can't find it, go and look in Hobbycraft. It's quite cheap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this to make some water effects on this, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Right, so first we're just going to squeeze a bit of the Mod Podge onto the... onto the base, and then take a brush and just move it around a bit. We just want to kind of just get it spread out. So we've got a fairly even coat. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just a fairly even coat over the whole thing. Right, now for the tricky bit. We're going to pop the plane on in the middle. I know it's got the wheels down, but yeah, there's not really a lot we can do about that. I've got a piece of paper. I'm just going to put a little bit over the top of the wheels because I want it to kind of stick to the base. But what I'm also doing is trying to create like a bow wave. I'm also doing another wake from the tail. This Mod Podge should dry completely clear. So, but even with the white on it, you can kind of see the effect I'm going for. You notice I'm getting little bits on the plane here and there. I'm not worried about that because again they'll dry clear and glossy, so they'll actually look quite good. They'll look like sort of, you know, water splashing up onto the plane. Right, we'll leave that to dry and then we might put another couple of coats on, see what it looks like. Right, so this has had plenty of time to dry now. And as you can see, the Mod Podge has dried clear. There's still some bits underneath that I think are still a bit damp, but that doesn't matter, it's fine for what we're going to do. And I'm hoping the light will catch that, but you can see the way the sort of waves and wakes have remained. Now obviously they're not very easy to see at the moment, so we need to jazz them up a bit, and for that I'm going to use this. This is Crawford's oil paint. You buy this from the works. I bought a box of 12 tubes of different coloured paints for £3. Can't really do better than that, can you? So we're going to use some of this to basically create some white caps on the waves.
Drop the load.
Right, I think that will do us. Let's put it all together and see what it looks like. Right, so here's our base. Pop the plane on the top there. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I think I need to clean it up a little bit. The glass is a bit grubby. I'll give that a polish, and yeah, I think we'll be pretty much done with this. And here is the finished article. This was a fun little project, actually. I might do some more of these. I've got quite a few of these little bell jars. Yeah, it's just a nice little way to get into using water and water effects and whatnot. And it's a nice way to display a plane as small as this. So hopefully this was of some use to you. It was certainly fun for me, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.